In one of the driest deserts on Earth, where it may not rain for years, there lives a plant that should not exist. It can survive for 2,000 years. It grows only 2 leaves in its entire lifetime. And a great botanist once called it, in the same breath, the most wonderful and the ugliest plant he had ever seen. This is the secret history of Welwitschia and the question of how anything could live like this at all. Welcome to the Namib Desert, along the coast of Namibia and Angola, one of the harshest landscapes on the planet. Here, some places receive less than 50 millimeters of rain a year. In many years, they receive almost none at all. The sun scorches by day, the temperature plunges by night. Almost nothing can live here. And yet, scattered across this wasteland, you find them. Low, sprawling, ragged shapes hugging the ground, looking less like plants and more like something washed up from the sea or left behind by another age of the earth. This is Welwitschia Mirabilis, and it has been surviving here for longer than human civilization has existed. The first strange thing about Welwitschia is its shape, because it seems to break the rules of what a plant should be. It has a short, thick, woody stem, sometimes over a meter across, but barely rising off the ground. And from that stem grow just 2 leaves. Only 2. For its entire life. Think about that. Most plants grow new leaves every season, shedding the old and sprouting the new. Welwitschia does not. It sprouts 2 leaves as a seedling, and then keeps those same 2 leaves for its entire existence, which can stretch across 1,000 years or more. They are the oldest leaves in the plant kingdom. Those 2 leaves never stop growing. They lengthen continuously, year after year, century after century, pushing out from the base at a slow, relentless pace. Given enough time, a single leaf can grow several meters long. It is as if the plant is unrolling one endless green ribbon across the desert floor. But the desert punishes them. As the leaves grow, the wind whips and shreds their tips, splitting them into ragged strips. So the plant that technically has only 2 leaves often looks like a tangled heap of many. What you are seeing is not many leaves. It is 2 ancient leaves, torn to ribbons by 1,000 years of desert wind. The plant looks so bizarre that when it was first brought to European science, it caused a sensation. Joseph Hooker, one of the greatest botanists of the 19th century and director of the famous Kew Gardens, was reportedly stunned by it. He called it, quite literally, the most wonderful plant ever brought to his country, and also one of the ugliest. It was named after Friedrich Welwitsch, an Austrian botanist who came across it in the Angolan desert in the 1850s. The story goes that he was so overwhelmed by what he found that he could only kneel down beside it and stare, afraid to even touch it, unsure if what he was seeing could possibly be real. But the true wonder of Welwitschia is not just its shape. It is its age. These are some of the longest living plants on the planet. Using radiocarbon dating, scientists have found individual plants estimated to be well over 1,000 years old, and some may reach 2,000 years or more. Let that settle for a moment. A Welwitschia growing in the desert today may have been a seedling before the great cathedrals of Europe were built. It has sat in the same spot, growing its same 2 leaves, through the rise and fall of empires, through everything human history has done, silently, without moving. To survive that long, in a place with almost no rain, demands almost supernatural adaptations. And Welwitschia has them. Its roots plunge deep into the earth, reaching down in search of hidden underground moisture that other plants can never touch. It is an expert at finding water where there seems to be none. But its most elegant trick uses the one gift the desert does offer. Along this coast, thick fog rolls in from the cold Atlantic Ocean. And Welwitschia's broad, sprawling leaves are perfectly shaped to catch that fog, letting the tiny droplets collect and trickle down toward its roots. It quite literally drinks the mist out of the air. Welwitschia also does something unusual for a plant. It comes in male and female individuals, separate plants, each producing distinctive cones. And to reproduce across the empty desert, it strikes a deal with insects, offering sweet nectar in its cones to lure them in, so they carry its pollen from one lonely plant to another. And this creature is not just old as an individual. It is ancient as a lineage. Welwitschia is a true living fossil. Its plant family stretches back an astonishing 112 million years to the age of the dinosaurs. Fossils of its ancient relatives have been found preserved in stone in Brazil. This means the ancestors of the Welwitschia you see today were already growing when Tyrannosaurus rex walked the earth. While countless species rose and vanished, this one strange lineage held on, surviving whatever killed the dinosaurs and everything that came after, all the way to now. It is a survivor from a lost world. Scientifically, Welwitschia sits almost alone. It is the only living species in its entire family. It has no close living cousins, no siblings. It is a single, isolated branch on the tree of life, a lonely relic that outlived everything around it, which only deepens the mystery. Because through all of this, the shape, the age, the survival, one enormous question hangs over the plant. How? How can any living thing survive for 2,000 years in a near rainless desert, keeping the same two leaves alive the entire time? For over a century, this was one of botany's great unanswered puzzles. But recently, science finally cracked it open. In 2021, an international team of scientists did something extraordinary. They sequenced the complete genome of Welwitschia, reading its entire genetic code letter by letter. And hidden in that code, they began to find the secrets of how this impossible plant does what it does. The first clue lay in the plant's deep past. The genome revealed that around 86 million years ago, Welwitchia's ancestors went through a whole genome duplication. The entire genetic library was copied, doubled. Such events are rare, but they can hand a species a whole set of spare genes to experiment with, a burst of raw material for survival. Then, much more recently, within just the last 1 to 2 million years, the genome went through bursts of activity from jumping pieces of DNA called retrotransposons. This genetic turbulence happened during a period when the Namib was becoming even drier. The plant's very genome was being reshaped by the desert closing in around it. The scientists found something even more pointed. They identified specific genes that appear to have been strongly favored by evolution in Welwitschia, genes tied directly to its most impossible traits. Some are linked to the control of cell growth, helping explain how those two leaves can keep growing endlessly for 1,000 years without stopping. And crucially, they found genes associated with extraordinary longevity, genes involved in repairing cells and fighting the damage that normally causes aging. In a sense, the genome revealed that Welwitschia is not just surviving the desert. It is genetically built to resist growing old, to endure across spans of time that would destroy almost any other plant. So here, at last, is the answer to our question. How does Welwitschia live for 2,000 years in a desert on 2 leaves? Not by magic, not by accident, by an ancient doubling of its genome, a genetic reshaping under the pressure of drought, and a specific set of genes tuned for endless growth and near immortality. The mystery had a real, molecular answer all along. Think about what this means. When you look at that ragged, ground-hugging plant in the Namib, you are not just looking at a strange shape. You are looking at a genome that has been solving the problem of survival for over 100 million years, written into every cell of those 2 ancient leaves. But even a survivor of the dinosaurs faces a new threat, one it has never seen before. Climate change is warming the Namib, and studies warn that the conditions Welwitschia needs may shrink dramatically in the coming decades. A plant that outlived so much of Earth's history may now be pushed to its limit by ours. For the local peoples of the Namib, the Nama and the Damara, this plant has always been more than a curiosity. They gave it their own names and wove it into their stories, a symbol of endurance in a land that punishes all who try to live there. To them, it has long stood for the power to survive against everything. And that, in the end, may be the truest thing about Welwitschia. It is a monument to endurance. It does not have beautiful flowers. It does not grow tall or graceful. It simply refuses to die. In a place designed to kill, it holds on, 1 year at a time, for 20 centuries. The next time you think a plant is just a plant, remember this ragged survivor in the Namib. 2 leaves, slowly growing for 2,000 years. A living fossil from the time of the dinosaurs. A genome shaped by the desert itself. It is, exactly as that old botanist said, perhaps the most wonderful plant on Earth. And now you know why it has survived when almost nothing else could.